Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Crypt Top Scene. You listen to my podcast, Vox and Hops, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians to talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. I hope that you have had a great weekend. I have most certainly had a great weekend. It is always nice to kick back, to relax a little bit, to hang out with the family, crack open some craft beers, and just simply enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. It's really the best motto, and I suggest that all of you try to take some time and to do that as well. On today's episode, I'm with Fredrik Söderberg, the vocalist of Soreption. Here it is, Vox and Hops, episode number 141.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'm with Fredrik Söderberg from Soreption, and I am so happy to be back with you. We have tried to do this many, many times, but as we're going to touch on during the interview, if you allow me, there's been many circumstances that have kept us apart.
Yeah, I am a very circumstantial man. Circumstantial man.
How are you? How are you handling everything related to COVID-19?
Well, I'm fine. I'm having I think I've had a bit of a flu for a couple of weeks. I don't know if it's like the COVID flu or anything, but and I think I'm handling quite well. I've been working at home for like 3 weeks now, but I'm not out that much anyhow. I mean, I kind of thrive in this environment. I have a lot of things to do. I write some music, I play some computer games, and I work. So I'm keep myself busy, So I think it's okay. But I think the whole COVID thing for the world is quite shitty because everything is going down the drain, especially for us musicians. I mean, nothing is happening, and it's just a mess.
It's difficult. We're just watching everything get canceled and just getting farther and farther into 2021.
Yeah,
and realistically, I don't see shows happening in 2021. Personally, that's my outlook on it.
The thing is, if we listen to like the people who actually know stuff, I mean, to the professionals and scientists and stuff, they are, what I'm hearing at least is that, yeah, we will get to like a point where things are starting to look a bit more normal, but traveling the world will not be normal for a long time. Mm-hmm. That's at least what they're saying. I mean, it can be hard getting visas and stuff now, or well, before the corona, as we probably will talk about later. But I mean, after the corona crisis, I mean, shit. Yeah.
It's okay. We're going to get through it.
Yeah.
We met back in 2015. Is that the right year?
Yeah.
It was Cryptopsy, Discord, Soreption, Arima, and the Convalescence.
Yeah.
And that was a fun tour, and it was good to have you guys there. On the bus, we had a few party nights. You woke up to me falling out of my bunk, which is actually the only time that's ever happened to me because I've never taken a top bunk ever again since that tour.
Yeah. Wasn't it that the rainy night in Texas where it was like the lightning...
Yes.
Lighting thingies, yeah.
We were supposed to play at the Gas Monkey Bar and Grill, which is actually one of my favorite venues to play because it feels like a little mini European festival playing outside, but we didn't get to play because it's outside and a crazy lightning storm happened that night. The show got canceled. So what did we do? Like good musicians, we went to Vinnie Paul's, rest in peace, strip club, and we had too much fun. That was a good night.
Yeah, I didn't have that much fun because I wasn't there. I was in the bus.
You always behaved yourself, Fredrik.
Well, I'm a very well-behaved person, but I don't think that was the reason. It's just that for some reason, lightning and stuff has always spooked me a bit. And I mean, the amount of lightning there was, I've never seen anything like it. I think, wasn't it like 2,000 lightning strikes an hour, I think, each hour or something?
I remember being insane. I remember taking a nap before the show and just hearing the rain just pummeling.
Yeah.
Pummeling the bus. Vivid memories of that.
I remember that night. I mean, we were sitting, it was me or I think 2 or 3 other people. And we were just watching the lightning and it was fucking everywhere. But we thought, like, well, if there's somewhere we should be, it's in a bus because, of the tires and stuff. So, it was a safe place. Anyhow.
Vox&Hops is all about hanging out with metal friends, talking about their lives, music, and craft beer. Do you have a beer on your side? And if you do, what is it?
I have a beer. I have a beer from a local company called Noisy Bastards Brewing Company. It's two friends of mine who does the beer, and they have started, like, trying to get the beer out to stores and stuff. And what I'm drinking is actually an Imperial Stout with some liquorish flavored, 13%. It's called the Pongo Pow.
Ooh.
Really nice, actually.
That's awesome. I've
already had one, and I will have another now we're talking.
Beautiful, beautiful. I like being a good influence on people. For my side, I am drinking a lighter beer because you are in Sweden, I am in Montreal. It is nighttime for you, so you're allowed a stout, and I'm in the middle of the afternoon, and I still got 2 kids to play with. I am drinking the perfect beer for that from my friend, also JF Legency. Huge shout-out who hooked me up with some brews so that I can do some interviews from my house. This is Echo Session Ales Session Rousse Double Rooibos. I never know if I'm saying that right. It's 3.7%. It is quite a delicious brew. Let's crack it open, and cheers.
Cheers. Well, this is great.
Is the licorice in it, or is it just has licorice-like flavors?
It has licorice flavors, and it's actually licorice powder in it. So
cool. I've never heard of that in a beer.
It's real nice, actually. I think just for dark beers, you need to go with that types of flavor. I've tried like an ale that was more, I think, was chocolate in it or something that should be really bad when you think about it, but it's also kind of nice. When you just have that small tint of it, where it doesn't like take over the whole beer flavor. I don't know, it's real nice. I really like the darker kinds of beer.
I do as well, very, very much so. On my side, it's very drinkable, very smooth. I normally don't like session beers because I find that they taste light, they taste watery, but Echo Session Ales, I don't know what JF does with these. He makes them feel and taste like real beers, and this one has a nice little hoppy bite. It's got I guess it's the tea in it, but that's actually makes it a little bit more bitter. It's absolutely delicious.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you're around a bit, that you're able to. I mean, I never drink a lot when I'm out touring and stuff because I want to be, clear. I don't want to be hungover and just feeling bad. But I'm drinking like 1 or 2 beers a night. But then I always try to drink something that's actually good instead. Something local, something a bit more special, and I kind of miss that. That's one of the thing I miss most about touring. The different, all the different things you be able to try just because you're around.
Absolutely.
When you're home like this, I mean, you do the same things all the time.
That is true. I'm lucky here in Quebec that the craft brew scene is just so vibrant that there's always something new to try.
Yeah.
Although to get it right now is a bit of a challenge. There's a bunch of craft beer stores that do deliver. I don't like going into stores personally. It's I don't know what it's like in Sweden, but here it's madness, and I don't feel comfortable in the situations that going into a grocery store entails nowadays.
No, I mean in Sweden it's sometimes I feel like people have really understood what they're supposed to do. Keep your distance, don't fucking cough. Just you cover it up a bit if you need to cough or whatever, and stay home if you're sick or anything. But sometimes it feels like it's enough with just 1 or 2 persons who feel like, well, I don't believe in that, and then they're just marching on doing their own thing, and it feels really disrespectful in a way. I mean, in Sweden we don't have that much restrictions actually during this crisis, and I mean Sweden has taken a lot of shit for it globally because they are handling it this way. But what we've had is that our government has gone out and have been given like advice, like this is how you should treat this, and this is what you should do. And some people are like handling it like they should, and then there are those people who just don't give a fuck. Of course.
There's always those people, huh?
Don't give a fuck, yeah.
Survival of the fittest, I hope.
Yeah.
Take me back to your youth.
Yeah.
When you were growing up as a child, what music was playing in your house when you were not in control of the radio?
Well, if we can I was kind of young, and I think this was 91. How old was I then? Maybe I must have been 7 or 8 or something like that. Then I actually started to listen to a Swedish band called Clawfinger. And I think that was like the start of my musical awakening, because then it was when I started listening to a bit of harder music, because before that it was more like, Disney stuff and things I don't know, things I had on CD. But then I got that Clawfinger CD, I think it was maybe 92, and that really changed a lot for me, because after them it was more, I was going into like, I remember, was it maybe 94 or something, it was Korn, and I skipped the whole metal thing. People, I know friends, they were into like Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath and all that kinds of stuff, and I surpassed all that and just went in like kind of with the new metal scene when they started. And then I, like a bit later, maybe 98, 99 something, I branched out more to the death metal scene.
I was a huge nu metal child.
Yeah.
I've said it on the podcast before, and I'm not ashamed. And I still go back to some of those CDs. Some of them have aged well, others not so well. I
mean, my favorite records are still in that new metal, cauldron of things. Where it's new metal is a hard genre, I think, because nothing sounds the same, even though they kind of do, in a way. So it's always been hard for me. I've always called it, like back in the days, I called it metalcore, because I think that was more kind of what it was than new metal. I think that was weird, but I mean, to be frank, the 2 CDs, or maybe the 3 CDs that meant the most for me in my upbringing, it was Life is Peachy by Korn, it was LD50 by Mudvayne, and it was, Slipknot's first album.
I agree with that. And they have all aged very well, those albums.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I still think they are good. I still play them. But, I mean, the older you get, the more you refine your music. I mean, I have loads of albums I really love. And I go. So, to be able to go back to those albums, I think is really... I still do, and I still love to listen to them.
I remember the first time I heard Dig from Mudvayne and thinking... How is this possible? How can he scream like that? I could never do that.
No. Well, look where it got you.
Yeah, it's funny. Same thing with Slipknot. That first Slipknot record, just so aggressive.
Yeah.
He sounds pissed off. There's no faking it there.
I mean, that's kind of, I think, both the Mudvayne record and the Slipknot record, what they actually still... Well, the Korn record as well, what they still bring to the table is the emotion. Mm-hmm. I mean, both you and me are a lot in death metal and that genre. And, of course, there's a lot of emotion in death metal, but it's not in the same way. I mean, you play more with power and aggressiveness, but, the thing when you tone it down a bit and you go down to those kinds of records, you have a broader field where you can play with different kinds of emotions. And I think that's maybe what actually made me like them in the first place.
They're almost like vulnerable, which is something that us death metal vocalists are not allowed to be.
No. and I kind of get it why, because it looks kind of weird, I guess, in a way.
Maybe that's what I brought on the Unspoken King that no one liked.
Well, that's actually the thing. I like that record. I do. I listened to that, and I thought when I heard it was like, well, that was kind of different, because at that time I listened a lot to Cryptopsy, Whisper Supremacy, which I love, and also and Daniel Begg, and then that record came, and I was like, well, this is different. And then I listened to it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I like it. I like that there was a bit of clean vocals in it and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, to each his own. I think you guys took a lot of unnecessary crap for that record, because it was a good album.
It was different, and probably I've spoken about it on the podcast before. It's so fragmented. The writing sessions for that were all over the place. There was no one driving the ship. It was, anyways. Yeah. Nowadays we know what we're doing, but everybody's using clean vocals now.
Yeah.
I got a lot of flack for it 12 years ago. and a lot of our favorite metal artists right now are using clean vocals. So maybe I was just too early. When did you start screaming, and why did you start screaming?
I actually started screaming when I was like rehearsing with a band and I was playing bass, and we had a guy coming in and he was supposed to be the vocalist. And it was kind of weird. It was just like an Iron Maiden cover band. As I said before, I wasn't listening to Iron Maiden. I just wanted to play some bass. So that was kind of where I was. So this guy came in and he was supposed to sing, and he didn't. Well, he tried. He came like one word into each song, and it was false, and it was just weird. And when he was trying to learn the lyrics, me and the drummer, I think, started just playing, and I was yelling some, and I thought like, well, this is kind of fun. In the back of my mind when I was just yelling into the mic. And as time passed, I actually started to yell. I was starting to scream to the Iron Maiden songs as the vocalist instead. And it was awful, probably awful. But it was the start, at least. And after that, I started to play when I hit. It was I think it's high school. If we talk about in the American system, at least. We don't call it high school here in Sweden, of course, but it was kind of that, that age. And then I started to play in a more like a metalcore or new metal band. And that was when I actually started to find my voice. Because at the start, I actually just yelled, and it sounded awful, just as it did before. But at one point, I just found this low register, and I didn't know what growl was then. I didn't know it was a thing. So I invented growl for myself at that point. And I realized, maybe a year later after I started to use it, that, there are other bands using the same technique. I can listen to them and get better, and that was what I did. I started to listen to I think the band that I listened to the most to be able to get a good flow and the chops up, it was Spawn of Possession.
Yeah, great vocalist. Yeah, excellent delivery. That makes a lot of sense now too. Now that you say that,
and I was I don't know. I rehearsed that Church of Deviant song for myself. I don't know how many times, so I actually know it by heart now, and it's kind of funny. But it's, I know the whole Cabinet album is just great, and I really, really used that when I realized that I actually could find someone who did the same thing as me, because I just thought that, well, this is my way of screaming. I was that full of myself that I invented something. But, yeah.
That's good, though. It's any young, aspiring, extreme vocalist out there, the first step to becoming a better vocalist is accepting the sound of your voice.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you did. You invented it in your mind, but you couldn't sound like Jonathan Davis because that's not your voice.
Yeah.
And you decided to do something that you were good at, and that was the sound of your voice. And having toured with you, you're one of the most proficient, every night, super professional, always on point vocalist that I've ever toured with. You mentioned before that you don't like being hungover. You want everything is for the performance.
Yeah.
And I remember that tour being just very impressed with your work ethic.
Yeah.
We discussed it a bit while I was on tour, and you said that being from Sweden, that sort of motivated you because there's just, growing up in that scene, there's a lot of elitists.
Yeah.
Is what you had told me. Let's touch on that a bit.
Well, Sweden is a metal country. And I remember from the start with Soreption, at least, I think that a lot of people didn't think we could pull it off because it was so, for Sweden at least, it was so extreme. Since then, we've always been well, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it at 100%. We can't go up on stage and do the songs poorly. So that's been a motivating factor that when we do this, we're going to do it good. I mean, there are almost every gig we're talking to each other afterwards, how did it feel? And it was sometimes it's good, but often it's well, not good, I fucked up. And then when you talk to people who actually listen to the gig, and they were it was flawless, and we were well, okay.
You're not listening through my ears. Yeah.
No, exactly. and I mean that's also a lesson in itself. I mean, you're always going to be your greatest critic. And I think if not for everyone else, at least for myself, I try to be the best I can be at that point, at least. And to be that, I need to know where my where it's hard for me to perform. And I realized that quite early. Well, like when I've taken one beer before a gig, I get all this dryness in my throat, and it becomes way harder to do what I'm supposed to do just then. At that point, so I'm just like, well, I can drink other things before gig, and I can take a few beers afterwards, because usually for me, anyhow, like 1 or 2 beers, that's the best beers of the evening.
You're probably right with that.
Yeah. All the beers after, the beers itself aren't that good after 1 or 2, but, well, it's fun to be drunk, I guess, as well. That's why you do it.
Some people do.
Some people do, yeah. Yeah, I'm generalizing.
But your whole band on that tour were very dedicated and straight. It was fun. I remember Tony had one night where he partied with us.
Yeah.
And that was an epic, great night with Flo DJing and a bunch of 80s tunes and sing-alongs. I think we were 18 people on that bus. It was crowded. But it was for us, that tour was so good, because I think it was our first US tour, and it was one of our first bigger tours, and it was probably the biggest tour we have done at that point. And I mean, you guys and also Discord who shared the bus, you all were so including, and it was so easy for us just to be a part of that crowd of people, because even though we are maybe not the greatest party animals or anything, it was still we were able to find a place. No, you guys were great, and I was super stoked you were on it. I was a fan already, thanks to Dave McGraw threw me on you guys.
Yeah,
I toured with him back in 2013.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dave. Yeah,
yeah. Dave is a great guy.
Let's touch on all the shit that's happened.
Yeah,
there's been a lot. I'm sure you've spoken about it before, and you're probably tired of talking about it. But there's been so many visa issues.
Oh, yeah.
How is this happening? And I feel like you're the ultimate victims of this. This is the thing. We actually haven't talked that much about it. It's just because we don't really know what to say about it. The weird thing with the visa issues is that it seems like it's the first time we had it. It was actually, I think, it was the tour with you guys? Let me try to remember. We toured with you, and then afterwards we toured. No, it was the tour after. Yeah, it was the ones after, because then we toured with Origin and Grizion and Aeon and a lot of which was Bloodletting North America.
No, it was the Devastation.
The first, yes.
So it was that one, and then we were going on the Cannibal Corpse tour, and I think it started there because the visa. I think Mike got his visa maybe 3 or 4 hours before the plane actually left.
The amount of stress, I could just...
He actually went to the post offices and just tried to find someone if they could find his visa in the mail there, and he actually found a very nice person who looked, and she found it. So he got it from her, and then he went home and packed, and then we went 7 in the morning on the flight. And
which was an amazing tour. It was Cannibal Corpse, Cattle Decapitation, and you guys.
That was the second one, and that tour was, well, I'm very, very glad that we were able to do it. It was amazing, actually.
And then you guys got fucked on, which would have been an amazing tour. It was an amazing tour. And shout out to Visceral Disgorge that got your slot.
Yeah.
That got your slot. It was the Frank retirement tour North America for Suffocation. That lineup was unbelievable too.
I mean, that was probably the biggest letdown for us in that way, because we really tried. I mean, me and Tony, we were supposed to be on Summer Slaughter first, and then we're supposed to go on to the Suffocation tour with Cattle Decapitation and Suffocation, and and me and Tony, we got our visas, so we actually went over and we got Justin McKinney from the Zenith Passage. And
shout out to Justin. He's a great guitar player.
Yeah, he's an amazing guitar player, and he learned the songs, and we were going around with him a bit and had the bass tracked, and but at a certain point it became clear that Michael wasn't getting his visa, and we were bleeding money at that point because when we had people, we had Justin, we had to pay Justin, we had to pay a driver and everything. So we actually just thought like, well, we can't continue this, and we just packed our stuff and went home. And that visa, Michael actually got it.
No.
He got it. Let's see, this must have been in I think October, November, or was it August, October? So in August somewhere, we did those tours. It was then we needed the visas, and he got them the next year in February. I think he got his visa.
Wow. Why is it like this?
Well, the thing is that we haven't. This is why we don't talk about it that much, because we don't have an answer, because they won't give us one. The answer we get is that they don't need to give us an answer why it is like this. And it's easy for people to, when they hear this, to think like, well, maybe some criminal record or something like that. But the weird thing is that, well, if you know Michael, you would understand that isn't the case.
I just know you guys. You guys are too clean.
Yeah. But the thing here is that Michael have actually worked for the state here. So our the highest intelligence agency in Sweden actually has vetted him. And he has also sent the papers like, I have nothing, I'm clean, please give me my visa. But nothing. So I have no idea why it's been like this. So that's the thing. I mean, we really, really, really want to do the tours, especially in the US and stuff. But the hard part here is that we also need to get the visa to get there. And that's what's the good thing about, we were going to Canada now, because in Canada we don't need the same types of visa. We just need a travel visa, and then we're all set. But then Corona thought, no.
Yeah, I was stoked. That was a good lineup too. It was Entios, Soreption, and Archspire.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting a band.
Yeah, Wormhole.
A Wormhole, yes. Yeah, well, I guess hopefully they'll reschedule that for next year, and you guys.
Yeah, it isn't cancelled. It's just we're trying to reschedule it. But then we all need to find a spot for it as well. I mean, we're back at square one in a way, so we really, really hope that everything will play out for that tour.
Do you feel like all of your visa issues have affected your band's status in the States? Do you feel like booking agents don't want to book you anymore?
I have no idea. I mean, let's hope not, but probably. It's a hard thing, because I mean, we have been with every tour we have done, we've been very straightforward with what we can do and can't do, and what we need and what we to be able to do the tour. And of course, the visa issue is a factor that I guess the booking agents need to factor in. I don't know. It's a hard question. I can't really answer it, I think.
Have you guys gone on the opposite end and toured Europe more?
Well, we have toured Europe since then. We were out with Revocation, Archspire, and it was us, and it was Rivers of Nile.
Yes, that was a great tour. Yes,
it was a really fun tour as well. So I mean, we did that. The thing people, I think, overall, the thing people need to understand is that when things are hard for a band in this way with the visas and stuff, is that there is a lot of money going out that can't come back in because of unforeseen circumstances, like the visa thing.
So merchandise that you probably ordered,
and flights, and things that everything. Some of it can be reimbursed, some can't be. So it's hard financially. I mean, we all have day jobs to be able to cover that kind of stuff. And I think now with the Corona crisis, I mean, a lot of bands talk about how hard it is to make money, and the only reason why Soreption, like as a band, aren't suffering in the same ways that we actually have work, and that's the conundrum, I think, of the music business now, is that in a way the people want you really to go for it. I mean, just go out and tour and do everything like that. And I mean, the money has to come from somewhere. And that year when the visa issues were most prominent, we really tried. I mean, I even quit my job. I was like, oh well, fuck this. Now let's do this. And then I was sitting there like, fuck. Well, now I don't have a job, and we aren't touring either, so, well.
And you just dropped that new record, which is just so fantastic.
Yeah. And, I mean, we didn't want anything else than just show the world the songs and, well, be out playing. I mean, that's everything we wanted. At this point now, we still want the same thing. It's just that we need to be smart about it. And I think bands overall learned that in one way or another, or just that our lesson was costly.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the States, the whole visa application thing gets their shit together, because there's a lot of people in the U.S. The thing is, when you do that U.S. tour, you guys are going to kill it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's no reason to think now that it's going to be just as messy one more time. But everything still needs to be like, when we're setting up a tour, we just need to know that everything fits. It's just so much more important now than it was then, because at that point we didn't know that it could go this way, it could be this difficult.
Let's end on a little positive note. You mentioned that you don't like being hungover on tour, but when you are hungover, what is your hangover cure?
Oh, what's my hangover cure? That's the thing. I don't have one, I think. I'm just miserable. But if I had to choose one, I would probably go with something kind of ordinary, like eating a lot of fat. If I were at home when I'm hungover, I'd probably would try to eat a pizza or something like that. And I try to drink a lot of like water and milk and well, since I usually get kind of bad headaches as well, I try to take some kind of aspirin or, something like that just to get the headache away. I'm useless at hunger. I shouldn't be hungover. That's why I drink a bit less, because I'm not a nice person when I'm hungover. I think I'm kind of nice when I'm not, though, so that's...
You are absolutely a saint.
Yeah.
Fredrik, thank you so much for joining up with me, drinking a craft beer, and hanging out and having a chat.
Yeah.
I am so stoked. I hope that this Canadian tour gets reorganized, rescheduled, and we can hang out face to face. It's been far too long.
Yeah, I think it's been far too long as well. And I mean, that tour is a great fucking tour.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
For many reasons, I hope that everything will work out with that one.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Cheers, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. I had such a good time chatting with Fredrik. I love him. As I mentioned, he is just such a talented, focused vocalist. So good on stage, so great on record. Just a powerhouse of a vocalist and an absolute powerhouse of a band. If you do not know who Soreption is and you've been living under a rock, please go check them out, because they're one of the most underrated extreme tech metal bands out there right now. Much love, respect to Fredrik and the rest of the Soreption crew. I love you all, and I can't wait to tour with you again. I hope that you guys have a good rest of the week. I'll be back at you with 2 more episodes this week, one on Wednesday and another on Friday. But until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.